Emmanuel, God with us. That is the hope of this season, the coming of God to live among us, to touch us, to embrace us, to shine in the form of a light radiating from a manger stall. This baby born to save, whatever that means to all of you. And so often we feel as though God is not with us, that we are ensconced in the darkness, and the light of hope may never return. The psalmist cries out, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death." The Psalms are full of people who have been forsaken by God, felt abandoned, and left in the dark, waiting and hoping for the light. And that's why I love the Psalms, because they speak into the depths of our human experience with the reality of suffering, of a world without light, and a God who seems absent. I was talking to someone recently about the story of her church-going life, as I am wont to do. And she told me about a time in her life that she stopped coming to church. Many people who have a story about their church-going life have a story about a time when they stopped going to church. Amen? Many people have a story about a time when they took a break from church, when they stopped going, sometimes for years, sometimes even for decades. And this congregant told me that she stopped coming to church for a time because she wasn't happy enough to go to church. She was in the worst time of her life. She was getting a divorce, and her kids were acting out, and she was depressed. And the medication that she was taking wasn't working, and she needed to take a break from church because she knew that she couldn't put on her best outfit and her best smile and her best "I'm okay" face. You all have that face. Much less her best "I'm great, don't worry about me" face, which is an even brighter face. And so she decided to stop coming to church until she was better, till the crisis was over, till the depression was lifted, till the world was a sunnier place. And she felt as though she was in exile. The time that she needed God the most, the time when she needed other people the most, which is where God shows up, was the time that she was sure she couldn't access God in the church. Does this story sound familiar to some of you? Unfortunately, it is a story that I have heard over and over again in the many congregations that I have served, even from my friends and colleagues. Some of us don't want to come to church when we need church most of all, when we feel as though God's face is most hidden. First Thessalonians calls Christians children of the light, children of the day. Well, sometimes we just don't feel like that's true. Sometimes we are fully ensconced in the dark. Our scriptures often assign light to God and good, and dark to evil and bad. Give light to my eyes, right? And this Christian tendency toward what Barbara Brown Taylor refers to as full solar spirituality can be damaging to some of us. Sure, we acknowledge that there is darkness in our lives, but rather than sitting with and dwelling in and learning from and befriending that dark, awaiting for what God teaches us there, we are quick to turn on the lights, to move from despair quickly to optimism. I'm okay. And when crisis hits, we are plunged into times of darkness. It can feel as though it's because we don't have enough faith and are somehow spiritually deficient compared to every other person around us. And worse, we believe instead that our God has forsaken us or is absent. How long, O Lord, how long? Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death. Isaiah says, the one forming light and creating darkness, causing well-being and creating calamity. I am the Lord who does all these. God with us, Emmanuel, is there in the darkness as well as in the light. God created the darkness of the world before God said, "Let there be light." God was there. God was present in the darkness of our mother's wombs where we were fearfully and wonderfully made. God was there. God is present in the seeds that are planted firmly in the dark ground, waiting to sprout flowers next spring. God is there. God is there when the lights go out, offering presence, not always protection, presence, not always illumination, presence, not punishment. God is present in the light of hope we yearn for, yes, but God is also with us in the dark, just as Jesus was implanted in the generative darkness of Mary's womb. Our Advent texts tell us over and over again to stay awake and not to be afraid, that we are to prepare ourselves for the coming of Christ, Emmanuel, God with us, in the dark. This Advent, may we test together our ability to stay awake in the dark with God and with each other, despite our fears. To sit with one another's darkness without trying to shine a light onto it, instead just to be still, hold a hand, keep vigil, stay awake. Do not be afraid. Emmanuel, God with us, is with you.